Hello everyone, this is Pastor Frank Demora. Today is the 29th of January 2019. In this video that I'm going to be presenting today, I'm going to be talking about Ebola. And the reason why I'm talking about Ebola is because it is spreading. It is a deadly disease, and the people who get it, unless they get professional medical help quickly, more than likely they're going to pass away from the disease. And since we don't hear too much about this on the mainstream news, and I'm not sure why they're not reporting this, I think it's very important that you see the update that I'm giving to you so you know what's happening in the Congo, because a disease like this, unless it's contained, it will spread. And if it gets even further than it is right now, it's going to be a major catastrophe. So what I'm going to do is present, first of all, what the Lord said about the last days concerning the disease. And then I'm going to show you the newest update on what's happening in the Congo. And then at the end of this video, what I did is I spliced the piece that I gave you a warning back in October. And I told you back then what to look for, what was going to happen. And my friends, it has already happened. So you'll get a update in the beginning, and then you'll see, if you want to go back and look what I warned, it's going to be in this video as well. You won't have to do any searching to find that. I'm going to put that clip right in there. So to begin with, let me show you what the Lord had to say about diseases. One of many, many signs of the last days. So in the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 11, he talks about the earthquakes and many other signs. Let me just read it. It says, "And great earthquakes shall be in divers places," meaning many different places, "and famines and, of course, pestilence," which means diseases. "And fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven." But we're going to focus on pestilence. I just wanted to make sure that if you don't know anything about Bible prophecy, that you would at least know where it is in the Bible that the Lord talks about this specific sign of diseases in the last days. Now, 3 days ago, you'll see France 24, the news, they came out with an update. Ebola death tolls surges in DR Congo. So listen what is said in this updated article, and then I'll connect the dots for you.
The rising death toll, up by more than 40 in the past 10 days, emphasizes the challenge of controlling the epidemic in the strife-torn East, and is just one of a host of complex issues facing Tshisekedi was sworn in on Thursday following a long-delayed and bitterly disputed election, replacing Joseph Kabila after 18 turbulent years in charge of sub-Saharan Africa's biggest country. In his inaugural address, Tshisekedi promised a new era of respect for human rights. He also faces entrenched poverty, corruption, and fighting between militias who control parts of the East. In a bulletin on Thursday, the Health Ministry outlined the growth of the Ebola outbreak. Since the start of the epidemic, the total number of cases is 715, including 666 confirmed and 49 probable. In all, there have been 443 deaths in the provinces of North Kivu and Ituri, the ministry said. DR Congo, formerly Zaire, has seen 10 outbreaks of the highly contagious hemorrhagic disease since it was first identified in 1976 near the Ebola River in the northwest of the country. The latest outbreak was declared on August 1st in the region of Beni, a major market town in North Kivu, and quickly spread to neighboring Ituri province. The ministry said 248 people have recovered from the Ebola virus, while 236 suspect cases were under investigation, down one from the previous bulletin on January 15th. The Beni region and parts of Ituri regularly come under attack from local armed groups and foreign rebels, particularly the feared Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, from neighboring Uganda. The presidential election, held on December 30th, was cancelled in Beni, officially because of the Ebola outbreak and regional insecurity.
So that is the updated news. And what's happened since that October update that I gave you, we've seen the conflict still going on, which means that the medical profession cannot do their job completely. And because of this, it's spreading and it's moving into different territories. This could be extremely dangerous, as I pointed out in October, because people who are fleeing the conflicted area, they may not even know that they've come in contact with Ebola, and they're spreading it in different places, and that's what we're seeing here. So the death toll is climbing since the October update that I gave to you, and after this segment, when you go and listen to what I gave to you, you'll have a full understanding of what's actually going on with this new outbreak of Ebola disease. So until the fighting stops, you can count on this Ebola problem getting much, much worse. And as I said earlier in this video, I'm not too sure why the mainstream isn't covering this news, because it is important. And I think what's going to happen if people get on board planes and go, for example, into even more populated areas like Europe or possibly even the United States, and they don't know that they're carrying Ebola, this thing is going to get out of hand. And if you think the death toll now is climbing, I'd hate to see what would happen if it got into bigger populations. But this is one of the many signs that Jesus talked about. Now, if you want to see what I warned was going to happen, just keep playing this video and you'll see what I warned back in October. This is Frank DeMora with the End Times Research Ministry. God bless. Pastor Frank DeMora here with the End Times Research Ministry, getting into the news, connecting Jesus' warnings about the last days, the signs we were supposed to watch for, and the current events. You see in the front of my website, October the 23rd, I made a video, and part of that video I covered the Ebola disease that is affecting Africa right now. I'm going to give you an update of a week later that the news came out yesterday about Ebola. And keep in mind, this disease really spreads very, very fast if it's not contained, and that's what we're starting to see in Africa like we saw in the past. If you're wondering where Jesus stated about the diseases, take a look at Luke 21:11. He gives us some indications about these great earthquakes that we're supposed to watch for, and I'll cover this as well. And also the famines, and you'll notice for that yellow area, pestilence. These are the diseases, some of the signs, the birth pain signs that Jesus told us to watch for. So we're going to center right now on pestilence, and like I said, I'll cover the latest on the earthquakes as well, because I've been continuing giving you warnings to watch for these big earthquakes that are continuing to happen. Now, for all you skeptics out there who continue to want to write me and say, look, there's always been pestilence, there's always been earthquakes, that doesn't mean Jesus is coming back, nor does it mean that we are in the last days. But I beg to differ with you. And this is why. When you look at the scripture, when Jesus talks about in Matthew chapter 24, and he says, even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. There is no other generation that has seen all of the things at the same time that Jesus warned about for the last days, that also include the rebirth of the nation Israel, like I continue to tell everybody every time I make a video. Now, if you want to try to dispute that, you go right ahead, but you will not find another generation anywhere that saw Israel reborn again for the second time. And after that happened, all of the birth pain signs associated after the rebirth of the nation Israel taking place in one single generation. This is what Jesus told us to look for. Now, in that video 7 days ago, I showed you the concern about Ebola spreading. If people get on planes and whatnot, they're just going to spread this disease even further. So, the new headline, Ebola outbreak warning. Child killer is back. Virus now rampant in Africa. Killer virus, Ebola, has returned with the Congo's health ministry confirmed a new abnormal outbreak has already killed nearly 30 children. You see the date of this news right there. Government officials in the Democratic Republic of Congo have blamed traditional healers at clinics with poor hygiene levels for spreading the virus at an unprecedented level. The country is already in the grip of multiple outbreaks, with Rutgers reporting that the hemorrhagic fever is believed to have killed 168 people and infected a further 98 in the eastern province of Ituri and North Kivu, which border Uganda and Rwanda. The latest outbreak, centered around the city of Benai, and has 120 people diagnosed with confirmed cases of Ebola, with at least 30 being children ages 10 or younger. Citing health ministry data, the agency said 27 of them have died. Officials have described the outbreak as abnormal and are worried about the unusually high number of children affected by the outbreak. They have put a high figure down to poor sanitation, as traditional healers use the same unsterilized equipment to treat cases of Ebola and malaria. A spokeswoman for the health ministry said there is an abnormally high number of children who have contracted and died of Ebola in Benai. Normally, in every Ebola epidemic, children are not as effective. Traditional healers use the same tools to treat everyone, and the child who has entered a traditional healer's clinic with malaria comes out with Ebola and dies several days later. And according to the Emergency World Health Organization Committee, the outbreak is feared to worsen significantly unless international aid efforts are stepped up. But keep in mind, you're talking about a third world country where Ebola just spreads like crazy. So unless some of the nations with the high scientific medical expertise gets involved, this Ebola disease is going to continue to spread. Congo has suffered 10 Ebola outbreaks since the virus was discovered near the eponymous Ebola River in 1976, and the current epidemic now ranks third in terms of the number of confirmed cases. As of this week, the WHO says there have been 239 confirmed cases and a further 35 probable cases, with 139 confirmed to have died and another 35 suspected Ebola deaths. Now, as we saw 7 days ago, we're seeing this type of news which is hindering the medical people from really tackling or stopping the Ebola outbreak. Amid calls for the international community to step up its response to the outbreak, the WHO said fighting between rebel and government forces is preventing aid workers from helping. They show you a picture of here, right? But it says these incidents are occurring amid intense Ebola transmission in communities in the city of Benai. So if they can't squash what's going on militarily in this area, this Ebola disease will not be contained. It's going to spread in the nearby areas as people flee. And here's a map of where it is right here in Benai. So this type of disease, anyone who escapes the territory and moves into another direction that may not even know they have this disease and they carry it into another area, this could be really, really bad, and the spreading would get worse. And this is what I'm watching. And I know that the health officials are also watching the same thing, because they know when it starts to move away from the containment area, that's when it gets really, really bad. Not just for the Congo, but for the outspread, for areas all over the place.